IPv6 over MPLS. In this video, I am going to talk about again how we can transport the IPv6 networks over the IPv4 only service provider when we are running the MPLS in the service provider. We can use the next method after the learning of the tunneling. In the previous video, the next method's name is 6VPE, okay? And we can talk about the 6VPE. 6VPE allows us to run IPv6 over an IPv4 only MPLS core where we use dual stack PE routers. I will talk about that and you will learn about this. But let me to say that here, as you can see, we have a customer A with the 4 sites, okay? Customer A site 1, customer A site 2, customer A site 3, and customer A site 4. The customer A site 1 is the IPv6 only site, and the customer A site 2 is the dual stack site, means the both IPv4 and IPv6 needs to forward it from this site. And also in customer A site 3 we have again the dual stack site, and also in customer A site 4 we have only IPv4 networks. This means that we can configure the 6VPE in these networks, and after that we have the connectivity between the IPv4s of the different sites and also IPv6 addresses of the different sites. On the PE routers, for example on the R2, we use MPBGP to exchange IPv6 prefix, and the LSPs is based on IPv4. Okay, I will talk about that. This allows service providers to offer IPv6 to their customers without making major change to the core of their MPLS networks. Why? Because here we are using again the IPv4. Let me to configure this scenario from the scratch, and step by step we can learn about the 6VP. But before the configuration of this scenario, let me to say that you know how we can advertise the VPN v4 addresses in the service provider, because you learned about this in many previous videos. But about this 6VP, we have one extra option, advertising of the VPN v6. What is the VPN v6? VPN v6 is equivalent of the VPN v4, but about the VPN v6. When you are adding the RD to the one network address of the IPv6 to the one IPv6 prefix, you have the VPN v6 for example address, and you can use the BGP to advertise the VPN v4 and also VPN v6. I will show you, you will learn it, okay? Because of that, let me to start the configuration of this scenario, and as a final note, I'm going to emphasize that in the service providers, inside of service providers, in this method we are using only IPv4, but between the PEs and CEs, in some cases I'm going to use only IPv6, in some cases I'm going to use IPv4 and IPv6, and in some cases I'm going to use only the IPv4. Let me start the configuration from the, for example, router 1. This is the R1, and now we can start the configuration from the R1. First, we need to configure inside of service provider from the R1. Here, this is the R1 CLI. Now we can configure the interface fast Ethernet 00, and IP address is 10.151.255.255.255.0 and no shutdown. And also interface loopback 0 has the IP address of the 192.168.2541 quad 255. This is the configuration of R1 about the IP addressing. Inside of the service provider, we don't need to configure anything about the IPv6, for example, in IP address assignment. Let me to configure also the router 2. In router 2, again, we have interface fast Ethernet 00. The IP address is 10.252.255.255.255.0, then no shutdown. After that, interface loopback 0, and IP address of this interface is 192.168.254.2 quad 255. This is the configuration of the router 2. Let me to configure the router 3. This is the router 3. then interface fast Ethernet 00, IP address is 10.353.255.255.255.0, and then no shutdown. Also, we need the interface loopback 0, IP address is 192.168.254.3 quad 255. That's it. And finally, the router 4, this is the router 4, other PE routers, interface fast Ethernet 00, IP address is 10.454.255.255.255.0, and then no shutdown. And finally, we can configure the router 5. This is the router 5. In router 5, we have interface fast Ethernet 00 with the IP address of 10.155.255.255.255.0. No shutdown. Then interface fast Ethernet 01. The IP address is 10.255.255.255.255.0. No shutdown. Then interface fast Ethernet 10. The IP address is 10.355. After that 255.255.255.0. No shutdown. And finally interface fast Ethernet 11. And the IP address of this interface is 10.455.255.255.255.0. No shutdown. Also here, let me to configure one loopback interface because I'm going to use the R5 as the route reflector. IP address of the R5 is 192 about the loopback 0, 192.168.254.5 quad 255. Until now, we configured only the IP addressing inside of the service provider. Now we can start the configuration of the OSPF and also MPLS. For example, in R1, MPLS LDP or MPLS label range between 100 to 199. Then we can configure the, for example, router OSPF1. Router ID is 192.168.254. For example, 1. The network statement 10.121 quad 0. Okay. Also, if you want, you can configure the OSPF on the interfaces. Let me to configure interface fast Ethernet 00, IP OSPF 1 area 0. Okay. And then IP OSPF network point to point. About the interface loopback 0, I'm going to configure again IP OSPF 1 area 0. And also let me to configure the LDP on the OSPF router OSPF 1 MPLS LDP auto config. This is the configuration of R1 until now. Let me to save it. In R2. In R2 again, MPLS label range is between 200 and 299. And after that, for example, we can configure the OSPF on the router 2, router OSPF 2, router OSPF 1, router ID is 192.168.254.2. Then in the interface fast Ethernet 00, I'm using IP OSPF 1 area 0, then IP OSPF network point to point. And after that, interface loopback 0, IP OSPF 1 area 0. And finally, router OSPF 1 MPLS LDP auto config. That's it. Then we need to configure router 3 MPLS label range, okay, is between 300 to 399. Then about the OSPF, router OSPF 1 MPLS, we can configure first router ID with the 192.168.254.3. After that, MPLS LDP auto config. Then interface fast Ethernet 00, IP OSPF 1 area, for example 0, IP OSPF network point to point, interface loopback 0, IP OSPF 1 area 0. That's it. And the last P is the router 4 MPLS label range is between 400 to 499. After that, router OSPF 1, router ID is 192.168.254, for example 4, and then MPLS LDP auto config, interface fast Ethernet 00, IP OSPF 1 area 0, IP OSPF network point to point. That's it. Interface loopback 0 also, IP OSPF 1 area 0. And look at here in the interface loopback 0 in the router 4, we don't have IP address. Let me to show you to show IP interface brief. We didn't configure IP address on the loopback 0, interface loopback 0. IP address is 192.168.254.4 quad 255, and then IP OSPF 1 area 0. Very good. The next thing that we need to configure is the configuration of IGP and also MPLS on the router 5. Let me to save the router 4 configuration now. This is the router 5. In router 5, MPLS label range is between 500 to 599. And after that, we can configure the OSPF router, OSPF1. Then router ID is 192.168.2545. After that, interface range fast Ethernet 00 to fast Ethernet, for example, 01. And after